What's happening, everybody? It's Sean with Reactions to the Classics, and today we got another reaction to Pulp. This time, a full album reaction to their album His and Hers, brought to us by patron, longtime supporter, and friend of the channel, Ian. Thank you, Ian. Always appreciate you. I don't know a lot of Pulp, but ironically enough, a couple weeks ago, I did a reaction to the album Different Class, which comes after this album, so I'm going backwards a little bit, but that makes this one very interesting to me to kind of see what came before. And I know people were divided actually on which one of these two albums, Different Class or His and Hers, is better. So I'm looking forward to diving into it. Most of the things in here are Ian's thoughts. We're going to share some of his thoughts, some of the stuff about the songs. I found some research obviously on it. Before we even get started, guys, I want you to know the music's not going to be in the video. So if you want to listen to the music along with me, just click the Vimeo link below. The entire reaction is there. Otherwise, it'll get copywritten and blocked. So anyway, let's get into what Ian has to say about both Pulp and this album. Ian says, this highly acclaimed album from 1994 was Pulp's breakthrough. It is an atmospheric, joyful, sexual, fun, but also beautifully constructed album. The Sheffield band Pulp had been around in some form since 1978, yep, 16 years before this happened. Jarvis Cocker, being the only band member present through every incarnation, was the heart of the band. It took many swaps of members and 3 interesting but disappointing independent albums for Pulp to suddenly find their stride with His and Hers in 1994. It develops the disco, sexual, breathless rock mix feel of Separations. Heavily influenced in my view by Serge Gainsbourg and riding on the Brit pop wave of interest in rock music, Pulp are a band that in their classic period are instantly recognizable. Landing a major record deal, they emerged fully formed, having had a long period of incubation. A butterfly emerging from a cocoon, which is something that's lost a lot of times in today's music world because you can get your music out there in much different ways. This is back when you had to really put in the work, right? Playing the clubs, going through, as Ian said, the different band lineups until you finally find the one that works. And by the time you get that first record deal, you're not some new band, man. You're humming on all cylinders. You got all these songs ready. You're ready to go. That's why a lot of debut albums from back in the day are awesome, because these guys have been playing the songs for years. I digress, though. Back to Ian's thoughts. Overall, this is another album that can't be separated from the time and place. For me, Ian's saying, this is being 17 and borrowing the album from the local library and being disappointed that it didn't have Common People on it. I remember my first listen sat in my parents' lounge using the Sony stereo, obviously not recording it to tape, as that would have been illegal. Of course, none of us did that back in the day at all. Later, when I had bought my only CD copy at a uni CD fair, it became my favorite Pulp album because of the quality of the storytelling and the sound/images of being alive that they somehow convey better than almost any band. For me, just a quick little background on the album. First, on Pulp, their best known lineup from their heyday, which is this lineup from 1992 to 97, consisted of the aforementioned Jarvis Cocker, vocals, guitars, keyboards, Russell Sr., guitar and violin, Candida Doyle, keyboards, Nick Banks, drums and percussion, and Steve Mackey on the bass, and Mark Webber on guitars and keyboards. Some of the quick facts on this album: 4th studio album released in April of 94 by Island Records. Their breakthrough record went to number 9 in the UK. Lyrically, it encompasses subjects for which Pulp were to become well known, including sexual encounters, social class, and voyeurism. Yeah, we're going to get into all that stuff because of the research on the songs, man. All Music 4 out of 5, Enemy 8 out of 10, and Q Magazine 4 out of 5. The album was preceded with 2 singles, Lip Gloss and Do You Remember the First Time. The new mix of Babies was also released as a single as part of the Sisters EP. All lyrics written by Jarvis. All music is composed by Pulp. So all that to say, let's jump into this. As you see, we're going to open up with Joyriders. Ian says, as a sheltered, nerdy 17-year-old kid, the first track hit me as like nothing I'd heard before. The creepy sound tells a disturbing story about the type of macho ruffians that were everything we weren't and didn't want to be. It was a story told as an allegory. Great melody, good story, gets an 8 from me. I just found, although Pulp are well known for their biting attacks on the English upper class, like Common People, of course, in this song, Jarvis takes aim at working class thugs who steal cars. All right, man. Thanks again, Ian. Let's check this out. Joyriders. What a way to start this album. It's the shortest song on this album, yet there was so much going on. It wasn't just the great storytelling. It was the diversity in the instrumentation, right? When things got crazy in the chorus section, the instrumentation would build almost to this manic thing, like, man, you feel it's like a movie, right? You feel like there's something going on, and then it would dial rave, hey, mister. So I really like that part of it. And it just takes the viewpoint of the thugs. And we're like driving on a Saturday night past the leisure center, left at the lights. Oh, we don't look for trouble, but if it comes, we don't run. Looking out for trouble is what we call fun. So a little bit of a conflicting thoughts, right? Or we don't look for trouble. But then the second one, looking out for trouble, is what we call fun. And then, hey, you in the Jesus sandals, wouldn't you like to come over and watch some vandals smashing up someone's home? And then kind of just talking about how dumb they are. And the next one, we can't help it. We're so thick, we can't think. Then we get the chorus again. Then we get the whole, Mister, we just want your car. And the way he sings it, the way Jarvis just dials it way back, because we're taking a girl to the reservoir. Or the papers say it's a tragedy, but don't you want to come and see? So they just repeat this the rest of the way out, right? A few different times. But brings in kind of that haunting music, and I don't know, man, it's just a really good way to start this album. And I think I can only put myself in that position of Ian hearing it that first time, of just going, man, this definitely sounds different, man. This is not something that most people are writing about. Now we go to the next track, Lip Gloss. Ian says it picks up pace, opens immediately into the action, organs, wailing guitars. The song is busy. The lyrics again tell another perspective. Jarvis singing from the perspective of a woman in a bad relationship. The song was sexual, as a lot of these are going to be, guys. It sounded upbeat, but explores the difficult topic of a real relationship and the behavior of men and women. I just love this song. Ian says he gives it a 9.5, and it's one of the things I like about Ian. He rates every song, so it's kind of cool there. I found lead single, only went to 50 in the UK, but you got to remember, like, they weren't over, or this is their first major label album. Like, getting on the charts, that's progress, right? Lyrically, Jarvis said of the song, Lip Gloss was specifically about social skills going rusty. That and the fear of large shopping malls like Meadowhall and Sheffield. It was the band's first single for Island Records, who gave the band more resources in production. Bassist Steve Mackey joked of the song, it took a lot of money to get it to sound that way. Now supported by a major label, Jarvis said before the singles were released that if it did not succeed commercially, the band would break up. He stated, quote, we've always wanted to get to the stage where there were no excuses, really. Island seems to be doing a pretty competent job of getting records out and letting people know they're out. So if people don't buy the record, then it'll just be because they don't like us. And that's fair enough, because at least they've had the chance. If they don't want it, then maybe it's time to start looking for something else to do. I just thought that was a great quote, man. This is a guy who was grounded in realism right there, right? Like, we're going to put this out. Okay, now everybody's heard it. Like, he spent all this time, right? 16 years trying to get this, get heard on a big stage. Now you're out. You're distributed on a big stage. You're being promoted a little bit. If they don't like it, you're like, maybe not. Maybe I'll go do something else. Quite a mature attitude after 16 years of doing it. Lip Gloss, just great instrumentation on this, right? As Ian said at the start, really just ramping up from the very beginning, and a lot of interesting sounds, especially with guitar sounds in there. And Jarvis sounds great. Jarvis kind of speaks during part of it, and then gets back into singing the great choruses and pre-choruses, but I mean, the song's about a woman who's with a guy, and they're very happy, and then eventually he gets tired of her and doesn't find her very attractive. And I think the lip gloss is probably I guess a representation maybe of her sex appeal or just her appeal to him. But he's still having sex with her, even though she's kind of in scraps at the end of the day. So she's kind of just a secondhand thing to him. He's got his attention somewhere else, but she'd rather have that than not be wanted at all. And I mean, there's some cold lines on here. With the pre-chorus, he changed his mind last Monday, so you've got to leave by Sunday, yeah. And then the chorus, oh, you've lost your lip gloss, honey. Oh, yeah. Now nothing you do can turn him on. There's something wrong. You had it once, but now it's gone. And then verse 2 is just cold, man. And you feel such a fool for laughing at bad jokes and putting up with all of his friends and kissing in public. What are they going to say when they run into you again? That your stomach looks bigger and your hair is a mess and your eyes are just holes in your face, and it rains every day, and when it doesn't, the sun makes you feel worse anyway. Oh, and then the bridge that you knew there was no way it was going to last forever. It still shook you when he told you in a letter. So, there's no text back then, boys and girls. You had to have to sit down and write a letter or talk to somebody. That he didn't want to see you. You nearly lost your mind. Oh, yeah. And then we just repeat the chorus. Nice little outro. That song is really, really good. That's a great first single. I think it probably would have went a lot higher if it wasn't their first mass single released and people knew them. It would have been higher than number 50. All right, we're up to the third track, Acrylic Afternoons. Ian says it takes the pace back a little, drawing you in with a sound effect that wouldn't be out of place in a Hammer horror film, but ups the sex to the max. Jarvis performs a song with feeling and extraordinary vocalizations. His half-spoken style, groans and breaths, shouldn't work, but the melody serves as a stage for his story. Again, he is singing about a different kind of love. It's unsettling, but at the same time, honest and real. 3 tracks in and another banger. Ian gives it an 8.5. Acrylic Afternoons. This is one of those songs, right? This is my first time ever hearing this album, and I don't know any of these songs, that I think this song might take a little while to grow on you, right? It's definitely a different kind of song. Not just for this album, it definitely switches gears from the first two songs, but it's just a different kind of song, period, because it does start out with that menacing kind of haunting music, and then Jarvis is definitely, I thought on the last track he was doing a little bit of speak singing. He's definitely just speaking on this and just kind of a quiet whisper that's kind of a little menacing as well. But then the melody he does sing it's just so good. So he's talking to this girl and all the things he wants to do to her. And yeah, I mean, I just don't know what I think of it. You guys know me, I'm always honest. But I could see over time this one would grow on you. I don't hate it by any means. And I thought the piano was used nicely in there, the keys, and yeah, it's a very interesting song. Now we come up to the fourth track, Have You Seen Her Lately? Ian says, then another oh my God moment. It is another relationship story told from the perspective of a friend giving advice to the subject about how the relationship is never going to work with this useless guy. Don't go round tonight. The song builds to multiple crescendos. Jarvis gives his all. He's not got the most powerful voice, but he sings with passion, and it makes the song. Ian gives it a 9. Have You Seen Her Lately? A really nicely written song. Starts out, first you let him in your bed, now he's moved inside your head, and he directs all the dreams you are dreaming. I saw a friend of yours today. She called me over just to say, I don't know if you've seen her lately, but God, she's looking rough. And then the whole thing that's repeated, the chord, no, don't go around to see him tonight. He's already made such a mess of your life. Find something else to do with your time. And do it quickly while you still got the chance. Get out while the getting's good. Then the next verse just talks about, this guy is on his own. He can fend for himself. And at the very end, it's time to teach him how to walk. Yeah, teach your baby how to walk away now. And then don't go around seeing him tonight. And, you're not his mother. He's not even your lover. He's just a piece of luggage that you should throw away. And then they repeat, don't go around tonight. You'll never make it right. He's already made such a mess of your life. And find something else to do with your time and do it quickly while you still got the chance. I'll tell you what, I've experienced this in my life before. I had a roommate way back when. I mean, it's 30 years ago, right? And he was with this girl and he was going to ask her to marry him. And this girl cheated on him all the time, right? And I've seen her, and so would other friends of ours, had seen her out with other guys. I mean, she was just flaunting it. And we brought it up with him before. Different friends had brought it up with him before. I finally decided to bring it up with him, and he just totally was living in La La Land, right? He didn't want to hear it, got pissed at us, wouldn't talk to us for a while. There's no way she's doing that to me. Well, I mean, you know how the story ends, because it ends this way every time. He ends up catching her, and, he's destroyed and messes up his life for a couple years. And man, but people don't want to listen to the truth a lot of times, especially in relationships when feelings are involved. So I thought this was a great song that was written so well of how somebody can destroy your life and everyone sees it but you. Now we get to the song that if you're watching this video, you've never heard the album, you probably know this song. We got Babies. Now, interestingly, this does not appear on the vinyl release of the album. Ian says it's a good, fun song. Again, the story is a little off the wall. Yeah, I'm going to get into that in just a minute. The voyeuristic tale is engaging, if a little unsettling. Very well put as well. Musically, it's quite simple, but the sheer oddity of the subject level, this ups to a 7.5 for me. So the big hit on here is the lowest rated so far for Ian, which you find with a lot of fans of albums and groups, right? The best known stuff is not always their fave. And this one has an interesting release history. It was first released as a single for Gift Records back in 92. Remember, this album came out in 94, accompanied by a music video directed by Jarvis. Though it failed to chart, the song was included on the band's next album, this one, His and Hers, and was later remixed for the Sisters EP, once again in 1994. This new EP release became a top 20 hit when it was re-released in 94, peaking at 19 on the UK singles chart. So it's an EP release that was released as a single. In 2009, Jarvis described the genesis for the song being when Pulp's drummer Nick Banks played a few mistaken chords on the guitar, leading to some interesting sounds that Cocker then worked into a song. In another interview, Banks recalled that the band has switched instruments as a way to generate new song ideas. REM used to do that as well. He explained, I was the germ of the song idea. We'd stop for a cup of tea, and I just picked up Jarvis's guitar and started playing two chords. So then Jarvis sort of said, what's with those two chords you're playing there? And I went, well, one of them is G. No idea what the other one is. Literally 20 minutes after I'd played those two chords, we had the entire song, basically. Jarvis summed up the song as, quote, a fairly poppy song with slightly iffy subject matter. He explained of the song's meaning. Babies is just a thing you get up to when you are 14 and certain things are still taboo and you get into situations because of curiosity. The song's lighter tone was a significant departure for the band. Cocker noted the song's composition as, quote, the first time we'd written a proper pop song, and finally, boys and girls, lyrically, it tells the story of a boy who is so enamored with listening to his female friend's sister having sex that he begins to hide in the sister's wardrobe to spy on her. When the sister catches the boy in her wardrobe, they begin to have sex before being caught by the distraught female friend who the boy is really in love with, to whom the boy says, quote, I know you won't believe it's true. I only went with her because she looks like you. So yeah, there's a little bit of that unsettling subject matter. Let's check it out. There you have it, babies. A very quick moving song because it has a nice little pleasant build to it before he even starts singing or speaking as he did, because he speaks singing in a lot of it too, but the story is very engaging. So by that, when it's over, you're like, oh, okay, it's over. And I mean, it tells the story of just exactly what I said in the beginning. So I won't rehash that. But yeah, I mean, I like it. I don't love it, but I can see how it's very catchy. I think the subject matter obviously is very enticing to people because it's very controversial, right, to write about something like this. So, you know, the kids and even some of the adults are going to really like that. Like, oh yeah, man, that song's crazy. So I can see why it had success. Not a bad song at all, but I'm kind of like Ian. It's definitely I think it's my least favorite so far, even though I do really like it. I mean, maybe Acrylic Afternoons, but that song was quite interesting. Now we go to She's a Lady. Ian says it changes styles and switches to an atmospheric soundscape that builds to a bass drum disco dominated sound that makes you feel like you're in a nightclub, a little too close to the speakers, knowing your ears will be ringing when you leave at 2 a.m. Look, man, I'm an old dude. It's a long time ago, but I remember those days. The song doesn't seem to be going anywhere, but then it all becomes clear. Sex. Ian says, for a 17-year-old who had no experience of anything like this song blew my mind with all the possibilities I was obviously missing out on. It demands your attention. You can't not listen to the lyrics. The song drags you into it. 8.5. Wow, man. I just saw that it takes much of its musical inspiration from Gloria Gaynor's I Will Survive. She's a Lady. Another fascinating song, just atmospherically, right? So much different. I do hear the I Will Survive Gloria Gaynor in there. I can hear that influence. It doesn't sound just like it or anything. You can just hear the kind of driving, a little bit of the keyboard in there. But, you know, Jarvis is an interesting guy, man, the way he sings, because sometimes he's singing and he can pull it off. As Ian said earlier, he doesn't have the world's greatest voice, but it's not bad at all. But he gets so much into speaking. You feel like he's just talking to you. Like he's really telling you a story with intensity, right? So sometimes he's going to talk, and then he's going to sing, and then he's going to talk to you. And the story basically is about a guy who, the girl is gone, and he misses her, and he can't really get over it, yet he kind of thinks he's the center of the universe, and she'll come back eventually. She should kind of be lucky to come back to her, and he kind of hooks up with other girls, but, you know, he still wants her, because she's a woman. Oh yeah, baby, she's a woman. She's a lady. And I just love the way she moves, I don't know why you pretend that it causes you pain when you know very well you're going to do it again. So I think some sexual stuff in there. Shake it, shake your body. Oh, I know it's going to happen. It might not be today. It might not be tomorrow or even the day after. But sometime soon you're going to come back to me. So that arrogance in there. And at the very end, I guess I kind of missed you whilst you were away, whilst you were gone. Stop. So yeah, man. So far, we're over halfway in. We're 6 of the 11 songs in. And, you know, Pulp and Jarvis in particular, very diversified, right? And I really do enjoy that because you don't know what's coming next. And now we're up to Happy Endings. Ian said, my second favorite song on the album. Slow conjures up images of a waltzing dance at the end of an evening out. The lyrics, the soaring chorus, it opens up with the concept of imagining a film. The simple organ sounds have echoey alien effects, continuing the feeling of a ghostly Wurlitzer organ playing in an echoey concert hall. Man, Ian has some great descriptive stuff here. I'm not sure if Happy Endings is a double entendre, but I can't imagine it isn't, given this album is about sex. He gives it a 9. Honestly, guys, that was my first thought whenever I saw the name of this track when I was doing the research. Happy Endings. Wow, once again, a different kind of song, and I'll get into that on my ending thoughts. I won't get ahead of myself here, but a lot of diversity in the Pulp stuff compared to some of their Brit pop brothers. That's all I'll say there. I'll talk about it more at the ending, but I really did enjoy that song. I mean, really good songwriting here. Oh, hey, imagine it's a film and you're the star. And pretty soon we're coming to the part where you realize you should give me your heart. Oh, give your heart to me. And now the orchestra makes a sound. It's going round and round and round and round. And we kiss the violins, right? That romantic thing that they sell every kid. But then he says, oh, some sad people might believe in that, I guess. Oh, but we know better, don't we? We know about all the mess. So that's kind of what the concept of the song is like. Look, it'd be nice to have all this, but we also know that this just turns out badly, man, because somebody can get hurt and things can happen. And hey, maybe they're with significant others. Maybe they're married. Maybe they're, I don't know. I try to figure that out. I don't think so, but that could be a possibility because, you know, the ending, and I know no one can ever know which way to head. Don't you remember that you once said that you liked happy endings, and no one can ever know if it's going to work out. But if you try, then you might get your happy ending, your ending and everything that you deserve. Oh, and no one can ever know which way to head. But you don't remember what that you once said you liked happy endings. So they're probably not married or with significant others. They're probably just trying to figure out if it's going to work out with each other. And he's saying you might as well give it a try, man. You said basically you wanted to live happily ever after. Maybe we can. Maybe we'll be the 1 in 100 that actually not only stay together but are actually happy together, right? There's statistics out there of people who stay together. I would venture to say that the statistics of those that stay together and are actually still happy together after many years are very minuscule, unfortunately. But yeah, good writing and a different kind of performance. Now we go to Do You Remember the First Time? Ian says, how can the album continue to be so amazing? Another song about relationships, and the young me was nonplussed when confronted with a song that hits you with references to sex toys in the first minute. Another brilliant story about what it says on the tin. It builds and has energy and is a brilliant tune to bounce around to in a club. Almost a 9. He gives it an 8.75. I found it was the second single, 33 in the UK, their first top 40 UK hit. Features lyrics about losing one's virginity. Cocker loosely based his lyrics on the moment that he lost his virginity at the age of 19. He reportedly lost it with the purpose of losing it as a teenager. He later recalled the moment. I have no regrets about the first person I had sex with. We were both virgins, so neither of us were under any pressure to perform. It probably took me a long time to get any good at it, to get reasonable at sex. I still don't know. Because of the song's lyrical content, the band saw some backlash. Jarvis explained, we got a bit of stick for the fact that it was about sex, but it just seemed like a good subject because it interests everybody. I mean, everybody's had a first time, or if they haven't, they're always thinking about it. Everyone's got a story to tell. Jarvis is a smart dude, right? I mean, that's exactly right. It's as simple as that. Musically, the song featured uncredited contributions to then touring guitarist Mark Webber, who after years of collaborating with Pulp would join the band the next year in 1995. He recalled, quote, I did write part of Do You Remember the First Time, which caused a bit of trouble for a while, I think, so I shut up about it. It was all a bit complicated. I wasn't really sure if I wanted to be more involved or not. Do You Remember the First Time? A crazy catchy song, man. And you know, it's 4 minutes, 22 seconds, so it's not super long, especially by song standards of this period of time, especially in the Britpop world where songs went on. But their songs just propel you, right? They feel like they're like a minute and a half long, where sometimes Oasis, for example, and I've got a lot of stuff up of Oasis, right? A ton of stuff, ton of albums, top tens, all that stuff. And I really like Oasis, but at times it's like, is this song ever going to end? It just goes on. There's so much differentiation in Pulp, man. It's crazy. And once again, I'm getting ahead of myself on my ending thoughts here. But basically the story is he's wants to be with this girl, but she's going home to this guy because it's better off being in a relationship than even though she's bored. It starts out, you say, you've got to go home because he's sitting on his own again this evening. So he's talking to the girl who he's been with before. She's going to go home to this guy. And I know you're going to let him bore your pants off again. In other words, they're going to have sex. Oh, now it's 8:30. You'll be late. Oh, but you say you're not sure. Though it makes good sense for you to live together. So it makes sense to us, right? It makes sense, man. We share stuff. We share the finances. Still, you bought a toy that can reach the places he never goes. I don't think that needs any explanation. If it does, you probably shouldn't be watching this video. And now it's getting late. He's so straight. He's so boring. And he's like, do you remember the first time? I can't remember a worse time. So not to get too, R-rated here, but most of us have that experience, right? The first time's built up so much in your brain, and then it's like, okay. Oh, but you don't know that you changed so much since then. Oh, yeah, we've grown. Now, I don't care what you're doing. Now, I don't care if you screw him. Oh, just as long as you save a piece for me. Oh, yeah, now. So he's telling me, I don't care what you do, but I want you to come back to me because I want to do it some more. So there you go, man. I haven't really ever had to describe a song like this. I find it incredibly catchy and just really well done, man. We got 3 songs left. We go to Pink Glove. Ian says, continuing the powerful run of classic songs, this wasn't my favorite track on the album until recently when I reappraised my relationship with the album because I was learning to play guitar. For me, playing this song on guitar and singing along changed how I thought about it. it really takes you over, is at the limit of my vocal range and gave me a sense of enormous well-being. This is a 10 for me now. Wow, now I feel pressure, Ian, listening to this song, if it is a 10 for you. Pink Glove. Now, I'm not going to go into the lyrics too. I mean, I figured out pretty quickly what he was referencing. That's why I was laughing after the first verse. But the story is that he was with this girl, and now she's with another guy, and it just drives him nuts. And he kind of describes, and he wants to be with her again, and I mean, I'll have sex with her again. I mean, that's a lot of the theme of this album. But she's with this other guy, and he just can't believe that she's into the things she's into with that guy, but wants her to come back to him, or at least at times come back to him. It's a lot of these songs are this way. Well, halfway through, I'm like, man, this is a 10 for Ian. It's not going to be that way for me, but it's first listen. But the longer it went on, the more it just grew on me, and the more I liked it. I don't know if it's going to end up in my faves or not. We still got 2 songs left, but it was a really good one. Now we're to Someone Like the Moon. Ian says, completely pulls the tempo down, and it's an okay song. Personally, my least favorite. Still a good track. He gives it a 7, but it was getting too steamy for me, and I needed a rest at this point anyway. This is an album I still regularly listen to from cover to cover, and this song works in this context. Someone Like the Moon. I'm going to say I agree with Ian on this song. It's my least favorite song. It's not a bad song. I see what they're trying to do. I think the lyrics are actually quite well written. The story is engaging, but I find the arrangement and the instrumentation just boring. But I see they were trying to dial back. I mean, it's that way for a purpose, and I see where it does kind of dial back the theme, the hard-driving theme of the album. So it does serve its purpose exactly like Ian said in the context of the album. But those are the qualms I have with it. It's quite well written. She likes to watch the moon as it travels through the sky because she's heard that it's romantic, though she really can't see why. Someone should have helped her through the day, someone like the moon. So she drinks a cup of coffee, telephones a friend. She asks if she can make it so this night will never end. So she's lonely, right? And she's the romanticism of, oh, look at the moon, and that's what lovers do, and it's going to be great. And she's all by herself, and that's kind of what she's talking about. And the radio only plays love songs, so she cries, though she knows it's such a bad thing to do. In the evening, it gets better, and she thinks how it's not right, that someone so stupid could so easily screw up your life. So I don't know if that's her ideal man that she's thinking of, or someone hurt her, and now she can't find love again, and she's all alone. So, like I said, well written. And there's nothing like particularly wrong with the song. Like I said, I don't dislike it. It just was a little boring compared to some of the fire that we had before. But now we come to the last song, 7 minutes long. We got David's Last Summer. Ian says, a good song to end with a scraping, almost rusty gate closing sound effects that make an interesting rather than storming ending. Slightly disappointing way to end, but it eases you out of the album feeling the, quote, climax was a couple of songs back. And this is where you're drifting off to a satisfied sleep. 7.5 for him. Jarvis said, when you get the first hot day of the year, I always get these pictures in my head. You think of all the things that happen in summer, swimming in lakes and building a treehouse, and you get quite excited. But then you know that you're not going to do all those things. You're probably just going to end up working like you normally do. But it would be good just to have one summer that was like that one time. And so I wanted to capture that feeling of those summers. It seemed to go on forever, and you can do lots of those things. On the sleeve notes, drummer Nick Banks for the song is credited with playing the fire extinguisher. David's Last Summer, just describing things that go on in the summer, right? And Jarvis is speaking to us, and then he'll sing the chorus like he did on some earlier songs. They went to this house and we're hanging out, and they could maybe, why don't we go ahead and put a tent out here, and we can kind of pretend we're camping, but that way we still can go in the house if we get bored. I remember those days, and then talking about being in the room, faintly smelling of suntan lotion. And so we went out to the park at midnight one last time. They swam in the moonlight until they couldn't swim anymore, and they came out of the water and kind of knew that the summer was gone. And I think summer is not just summer, but maybe his youth. And then that last, oh, I want you to stay. Oh, please stay for a while. Please stay for a while. Please stay for a while. I don't want you to go. Stay. And with that comes this crescendo of just all these musical instruments coming in and just upping the almost anxiety. Not in a bad way, not in an over-the-top way. But, I liked it fine. I don't know that it fits for me on this album, and I kind of wished it wasn't the closer. And I kind of wish it wasn't on here at all because it's 7 minutes long. And this album probably would have been better without the last 2 tracks. Even though they're not bad tracks. So if you love this album, don't don't hold it against me too much. I'm just saying it probably might have been better with those songs. Now, without those songs, Ian has a couple ending thoughts here. He says, Jarvis Cocker really finds his voice as a brilliant lyricist. I agree with that. Which he would continue through the next two brilliant albums. I believe His and Hers is only marginally superior to his second favorite, Different Class, and This Is Hardcore, which is a smidgen behind again. Although this album was highly acclaimed at the time, I still think it's underrated in retrospect, and overall I give it a solid 9. I rank it up there with Blur's Modern Life is Rubbish, Suede's Dog Star Man, and Radiohead's The Bends from the same period. Very familiar with The Bends. I actually have never listened to Blur's Modern Life is Rubbish or the Suede album, although I do like some Suede stuff that has been brought to us. My favorite tracks were a little tough to nail down because I like a lot of this album, right? Those last two songs are fine too. I don't want you guys to go away from this thinking I don't dislike them. Honorable mention for me, the first track, Joyriders. My faves, Lip Gloss, Have You Seen Her Lately, Happy Endings, and Do You Remember the First Time? Pink Glove just barely missed out on my honorable mentions. Don't hold it against me, Ian. I know it's a 10 for you, and I'm sure it'll be a grower. And now we get to my overall score, and I got several things to say here before I score this album. I've listened to a lot of Oasis. Not all of it by any means, but a lot of it. So I feel like I have a really good handle on Oasis. I do like them. I know they're highly controversial, but their stuff can get too long, especially Definitely Maybe. That's the last album I did a reaction to, but their stuff can get a little long or a little repetitive or just the same stuff over and over, which is not bad. As far as Blur goes, the only thing I've done, I listened to their self-titled album, traded a Blur Top 10. All this stuff is up on the channel. So I don't have a great handle on them. I told you in the beginning, I did Different Class just a few weeks ago from Pulp. And that album I gave an 8.5. This album has a couple advantages because I already kind of know the Pulp sound a little bit now because I listened to that album. So I'm more familiar with it, kind of know more of what to look for on this. I thought the instrumentation was great. And I just didn't go out and really give praise there where it needed to be. But, Russell on the guitar and violin, Candida on the keyboards, Nick on the drums, Steve Mackey on the bass, and then Mark on the guitars and keyboards, even though he wasn't an official member of the band yet. So sometimes you don't know who's playing what with everybody credited with keyboards and guitars. So I didn't get into all that. But the instrumentation is really, really well done. And it's really low key, right? It's done just right. Whereas some of this stuff you can get into over the top. I don't need the guitar to shrill at me for 2 straight minutes. Nothing wrong with it, but I don't need that over and over. So I think they're just a very polished, well put together band. I think Jarvis is a very good lyricist, a step above of Oasis at least for me in that. So I'm going to give this album an 8.75 on first listen. Ian gives it a 9. 8.75 is significant because I gave Different Class an 8.5. If you haven't watched it, I don't mean to spoil that for you, but I guess I already did. But that tells you the same thing that Ian said. I find this album to be just a little bit better. But, guys, it's first listen to both albums. That might change if I listen to them a bunch. But, wow, really enjoyed this one. Thank you, Ian. Really appreciate it. I felt pressure on this one because I could see when I read your write-up when I was doing the research how much this album meant to you. So hopefully I did it some justice. If you'd like to support us in any way as Ian does, please check out the Patreon link below or the one on the end screen is about to hit. I will put Different Class on there for you as well. But look in our playlist of Britpop and you'll find a lot of the videos that I referenced. Don't argue with me over Britpop. Maybe some of it is, maybe some of it isn't. I'm just an American in 2022 trying to classify music, and I do not always get it right. All right, guys, until next time, I will see you.